All right, let's talk about passion now. So, everyone says you have to be passionate about what you do. It's just the standard entrepreneurial thing. Everyone accepts it. You've got to be passionate. And I understand that. If I'm going to work 80 hours a week on something, I want to really love it too, right? That makes a lot of sense. You know, why make your life more difficult if you can't be passionate about what you're doing? Well, along the way, I got involved in a lot of businesses that I had no plans on doing. I'm not a clothes person. I could care less about clothes. I don't buy clothes ever. Sometimes my wife forces me to, but I just don't care about clothes. But I owned a leather business, a leather fashion purse, accessories, belts, leather jackets business. I got into that, and I didn't really like the business ever. But it made some money, and I was able to do some stuff with that money, and so I enjoyed the money. And I was thinking, I got in the business because of a bet, and didn't really have any interest in doing it. Just like the furniture thing, I'd have no interest in heavy Pakistani wooden furniture. But I did that business because of a bet. And I started realizing that I really don't care about what I do, that I care about my lifestyle. And so when people ask me what I do, my lifestyle is as good a lifestyle as I think anyone in the world can have. I work whenever I want, as long as I want, and do anything I want, right? Isn't that what we all dream of? Having complete freedom, 100% complete freedom. I'm the stay-at-home dad in our house. I'm the one that stays at home all day because I have the freedom to do that. And so at 2 o'clock, if I want to take all the kids swimming, we do. Right? I was at the lake for the last week, and I only came home last night so that I could be here this morning. As soon as I get done, I'm going back to the lake, right? Because I can. I've realized that I am willing to sell anything that's legal and mostly moral if it furthers my lifestyle. So I don't care what the product is. And everyone says, oh, you've got to love what your product is. No. I want to suggest that loving the lifestyle is enough. You can be passionate about the things that come with entrepreneurship, about being passionate about what you're doing, right? So I do stuff every day that I despise. I absolutely hate doing it. So I told you I do radio. I hate the guest acquisition process, finding the guest I don't like. And afterwards, we do a transcript of their entire thing. We transcribe it and post that. I hate all of that stuff. I dread doing it. But some of it I have to do. I have to do it, and I outsource as much of it as I can, but I have to do it. But I've realized that doing that, though, allows me to go to Disney for another week. And that's what I put through my head. If I make $10,000 in this business, I get to go to Disney for an extra week. Now, how bad was it to make this $10,000? It didn't involve breaking rocks in the desert for 9 hours, right? It still involved air conditioning, so it wasn't that bad. I'm not sweaty. It didn't cause any new calluses, right? I didn't lose any blood from it. It involved me 2 or 3 hours doing something I don't like, which is what work is, isn't it? Isn't work pretty much 2 or 3 hours of something you don't like? And I'm an adult. I'm a big boy now. I'm willing to sacrifice some for incredible payoffs later, right? Aren't you all willing to do that? I mean, you're here now, right? You're sacrificing now. You could be off somewhere else having more fun at the lake, but we're all here, right? Because we want something more in the future. I've decided that the future payoff is worth a little bit of pain now. Did we all do our homework in high school for a reason? To get a better job. Did we go to college not only to have fun, but also to improve ourselves? We do tons of stuff that we don't enjoy to make ourselves better, right? Do you enjoy working out? Really? No, I hate it. I despise working out. But I know that I'll get to live 10 years longer if I do some of it. And if I work out, maybe more attractive girls will like me or something, So I understand the cost and the benefits of everything. What I'm proposing is that I am passionate about what I do is cool, but it's not necessary at all. If you can be passionate about the process and the freedom that comes from it, that is enough. So when people say, do you love what you do? I say, some of it, but I love the overall outcome. I'm willing to have a really, really bad month where I work 15, 16 hours a day if it means I get 2 complete weeks at Disney. That's a deal that I, as a conscious, smart adult, am willing to make. And that's what our entire lives are, right? Right now we're making the deal, I'll work 12 hours a day for you with horrible commutes for 50 weeks a year, and in return I get 2 weeks to do whatever I want, and you'll pay me for those. That's a deal we're willing to make. Well, if you're willing to make that deal, why aren't you willing to make the deal, I'll unload trash for 8 hours a day if it means I get a certain amount of free time at the back end? I mean, we would all take that deal at some point, right? If I said you only have to work as a dumpster loader for a week, but you get the other 51 weeks off, would you take that deal? You would. You might not like it, but after a while you go, yeah, okay, I'll take that deal. That's a deal I'll take. And so it's some limit, there's some variability about how much hell we're all willing to put up with to get what we want out of life, right? I've decided I want to live really well. I want expensive things. I like expensive trips, and I like to get there in expensive cars and airplanes, right? And so I've decided that I'm willing to do almost anything if it allows me the fun that comes after it. Like, do you all have children? We all have children. And we know that having children is going to be 9 months of pure hell when they're born, right? No sleep. They're going to be bitchy. They're yelling in the middle of the night. You're not going to sleep well. You're not going to have good marital relationships for a while. Your life is over. And then the baby gets a little bit older and it gets to be 3 or 4 and it becomes really fun, and then it turns 15 and you want to kill it again. But anyway, you're willing to have that child because of the love and the joy that you get out of it, right? But you know it's going to be miserable for a while. But we do it anyway. And then we do it again, right? When we have another child, and we do it again, right? The same thing is true with life. We are all smart enough to say, I'm willing to sacrifice a tremendous amount if it means that I get more of what I do want, right? And we've all acknowledged that what we want here is money or freedom. That could be a big part of it too. So what part of the brain do we have as passion? I don't know, it's just a little silly slide. But what I do know is that passion is not always good. Does passion mean that you will put money into a business that you should have let die? Yes. There are businesses that should die, that just didn't work. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that and saying, you know what, this business didn't work. I'm not the one to do it. I'm going to let this business die. But if you're so passionate about it that you can't separate that business from you as a person, that your entire ego and self-esteem are wrapped up in this business because of your passion for it, you're going to keep going whether it's already dead or not. And I see this tons of time, people running businesses that are already dead, that should have been put to bed a long time ago. I don't know that this kind of passion is good. Look at him, his veins are popping out of his neck. His blood pressure must be 1 billion over 1 million, right? He is not happy. You can't argue that he's happy now. And if we were to talk to him afterwards and say, did you enjoy yelling at that person? I think the chances are 99% he was going to say, no, I don't like that. Or even stronger, I don't like that about myself. Because people who yell always hate that about themselves. I've been a yeller in my life, and I always hate that when I do that, when I lose control of myself, right? You can acknowledge that feeling and understand that, right? Clearly, this is passion, isn't it? But does that look like good to you? Would you argue that there's anything good about that? I would say no, that's passion that is directed in a bad way. That's doing bad things to his character and his personality. You don't want that to be you. What should we be passionate about in life? I like to say you should be passionate about 2 things: church, synagogue, mosque, whatever, and your family. What else deserves passion? I would argue that these things do not deserve passion. And if you're passionate about any of the items up there, then I would question your sanity. Really? You're passionate about purses? Purses make you passionate. No, it doesn't. And if it does, you need to go see a doctor and get on some lithium or something, because you shouldn't be passionate for a thing. That's just not good. That's not good human karma. Humans don't want to be passionate about a thing. We want to reserve our passion for the important stuff. Going to the beach or Disney with your family, right? That's what we're supposed to be passionate about. And so, having said that, I would propose that passion for the process is all you need. If you can make it then that you're passionate about the freedom, you've got double advantage in your life. If you can also then be passionate about the business, then you're triply lucky. So I love my radio show. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. I love the time that I spend doing it. I hate the other stuff, but I love doing it itself, right? I'm passionate for that, but I'm willing to put up with all of the other stuff that comes with it. But if you were to take it away, if you were to say this, Jim, you can do your favorite interview, like you get Steve Jobs to interview from heaven, directly from heaven, you get to interview Steve Jobs, which would be the most fun thing you can do, or you get a week at Disney, or even an hour at Disney. What are you going to choose? I'm going to choose Disney. So as much as I love being here, I love this. I think it's obvious that Chris and I enjoy this, right? I think that's fairly obvious. We enjoy being here. And I like all of you people, and I would love to get to know you and help your businesses, but I would rather be at Disney with my family than here with you. Okay? Does that insult any of you? No, of course not. You're like, well, that's a sane thing to say. You would rather be with your family somewhere right now too, wouldn't you? And so because we acknowledge that, let's just go ahead and say the process is enough. The freedom is enough. The fact that I get to go to soccer practice at 2, ballet at 3, and then wrestling at 4, and spend the entire afternoon with my children, that's the coolest thing on earth. And if I have to sell purses to do that, I'm willing to sell purses, right? I'm willing to go collect garbage if it means I get more of the good stuff. And that's what I want to propose to you, that the simple act of being an entrepreneur is rewarding enough. The fact that you are, and that's I think, and I don't even put a slide on this because I get a little squeamish when I say this. I believe that God, Yahweh, Buddha, Muhammad, whoever, gave each one of us a certain basket of skills at birth and said, here's what you're good at. You're good at this, and you're good at this, and you're good at this. And I think that it's my requirement as a moral and semi-moral and person who wants to make myself a better person, that I use that skill set as good as much as I can, right? It would be really horrible if God made me an incredible soccer player and I decided to never play soccer. That's just not what was right, you know? What God has given us is the ability to be passionate for our family and our lifestyle and to realize that the other stuff is auxiliary. Everything you do, every single business in here that we talk about is not as cool as being at Disney with your family. And so I would argue that I don't care what I do, and therefore I would hope that you didn't. So if the choice is this, I get to sit on the sofa and not be an entrepreneur, or be an entrepreneur doing something that I sort of like, but I'm not in love with, that the other stuff of the freedom that comes with it makes it worth doing anyway, right? Because when we talk about passion, everyone's like, well, I have this much passion for my product. I love my business this much, and therefore I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Well, what if I say, on top of that, there's the passion that comes from the freedom, and on top of that, there's the passion of you control your own lifestyle and your own hours, and you make as much money as you want to. That's enough. In other words, if I have 4% passion for the item that I'm doing, the business itself, but I can say I give myself 20 passion points because I'm totally free, and I give myself another 20 passion points because I make as much money as I want and I work as hard as I want, I've gotten past 50 points, and I should do it. You see what I'm saying? There's other ways to have the passion other than just the item. I don't care what I do because I'm passionate about the other stuff. I love negotiating. And so I like being a person who buys a lot of purses because I get to negotiate purse prices. You see? So, Passion is fine. If you can be passionate about your business, God has blessed you doubly. Not only you're an entrepreneur, but you're an entrepreneur who loves what you do. That's a double blessing. But it's not worth waiting for. It's not worth waiting for. Maybe your passion will be your third business. And God, Yahweh, Buddha, Muhammad's only getting you ready with the first two businesses to get you to the point of the third business. Remember the corridor principle that Chris talked about? You can only get to that third business by having done the first two. Right? You can't get to number 3 without going through 1 and 2. And let me tell you what my passion is. Other than my family and going to Disney, if you were to ask me what I really want to do, I'm a billionaire, I can do anything in the world I want, I have absolutely no requirements to anybody, furniture making. I love making furniture. I love making furniture. About half of my house now is stuff that I built myself. But I promise you that there's no chairs that I've built, because whenever you build a chair and you sit on it and I built it, you collapse. I'm not very good at making stuff. I love it, but I'm just not very good at it. I promise you that no one's going to pay to buy anything that I've made. Okay? You just won't pay for it because you'll sit on it and collapse, or you'll look at the cabinet and go, is there something wrong about this cabinet? What's off? I built some bookcases in my son's room, and everything was perfect except all of the shelves were like at a 2% slope down. Every single shelf was at a 2% slope. So I had to go and put the trim on the front to hide that, you know. I'm just not really good at it. Maybe it's because I started in my 40s when I was already old. Maybe it's just God never wanted me to be good at woodworking in the first place. I'm not good at it, but it's my number one passion. What do I do now? Or your number one passion is something that no one's going to pay you for in the first place. My number one passion is card counting or poker. Well, unless you can go be a professional poker player, you're not going to make your living doing that. So we have to acknowledge a lot of times that what we're passionate about is not what we are best suited to do. Does that make sense? Just because you love it doesn't mean that's what you should do. Maybe that's what you should call a hobby. And that's what I try to do. I try to get as much work done so that I can drive down to Florida, and I have a big workshop in Florida, and to go woodwork for a week. And then I'm really happy. And then I look back on the last month and say, wow, in the last month I got 7 days of woodworking done, and I only had to do miserable work for 9 days. And that's an amazing life. Overall, it adds up really cool, because I'm willing to get dirty and get muddy and go in there and fight hard for my business and sell purses all day long if I get to go to woodworking class. And guess where woodworking class is? I already gave you a hint. It's in Florida. Guess how far it is from Disney? It ain't an accident, y'all. It's not an accident that my woodworking studio is 8 miles away from Disney. It's not an accident.
So when are you buying a house in Celebration?
She bought a house. We have the perfect house. We move in 2 weeks. It's absolutely perfect as long as I gut the entire thing and start over.
So are you buying a house in Celebration, Florida, the Disney property?
Oh, in Celebration, Florida. No. I understand. I love Celebration. We go there quite a bit. There's several restaurants that I'm a regular at there. But even for me, that's a sterile environment. I love Disney, but I also like, Celebration is the Disney town next door to Disney that they built. It's boring for even me. I love Disney, but even it's too Disney-esque. I like, kids running through the night making tire tracks in your lawn, I like, birds chirping at 2 when they're not supposed to. Yeah, I love Disney, but even I realize that they're a little bit wacko. So I don't want to live in Celebration. I do have a place in Orlando, and it's not there. So it's out in the middle of the woods where, the alligators and stuff are. But it also has my workshop. So I'm not willing to be poor to pursue my passion, though. Right? And that's the alternative. I could be a woodworker professionally. I just wouldn't be able to then go to Disney also. Right? And I like that. I don't know if you can read it. There's no passion for playing small, for settling in a life less than what you are capable of living, by Nelson Mandela. To me, it gets back to this God thing, or maybe just if we take religion out of it, just the fact that you want to do the best you can in your life, right? We want that of ourselves. And I know that by working at Coke, that there would be a huge skill set that I never used, right? I know that if I did certain jobs, I wouldn't use all of the abilities that I have. And I want to push myself, like Chris said in the very beginning, I want to push myself in life. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. So I think that that's just really cool. I love that quote there. So passion.